Module 2 examines the working environment pertaining to coastal hazards from waves, weather, and wildlife, as well as the compounding hazards from working on oiled shores, such as injuries from slips, trips, and falls. There are about 29,000 kilometers of rugged remote shoreline in British Columbia, populated by a diversity of wildlife, some which are a nuisance, others are dangerous, bears, wolves, and cougars. This setting poses hazards to people, whether or not there's stranded oil on the shore. Oil on shore is part of the working environment. Stranded oil creates operational hazards that can cause work injuries, as well as health concerns from oil exposures, as liquid or vapor, to your eyes, skin, and by inhalation. There are other non-oil related hazards to consider, such as finding containers that might have hazardous substances. This video sets the work environment of managing a persistent type of oil. Captured are images of shoreline cleanup workers during the 1989 Exxon Valdez oil tanker incident in Prince William Sound, Alaska. It spilled a crude oil onto coastal regions very similar to British Columbia. It is the concentrations of oil on a particular shore and its coastal hazards to consider in this video, not the volume released or the size of the workforce. Seagoing vessels that frequent British Columbia waters, such as bulk carriers, container vessels, general cargo vessels, can hold up to 1,000 to 4,000 metric tons of a persistent oil called bunker fuel, which, if it washes ashore, would result much in the same work effort, measures, and hazards as seen in this video. There are, however, some cleanup measures not used or less used, such as aggressive use of heated water and high water pressure spraying. Manual flushing and deluge with ambient seawater and cleanup and rakes and shovels would still very much be used.
Oil spill cleanup on the coast can be hazardous due to weather, heavy seas, winds, and dangerous shorelines. Personnel are exposed to these environment hazards, as well as to the potential day-to-day hazards that come with an oil spill operation. To work safely, it's important to know and understand the hazards involved. To avoid slips, trips, and falls, wear appropriate footwear with flexible, non-slip soles thick enough to resist puncture. Do not climb rocks. Be aware and warn co-workers of seaweed-covered rocks and oiled areas. Avoid stepping over hoses, ropes, and wires. They can move and tangle unexpectedly. Avoid strains by handling equipment properly. Lift with your legs instead of your back. Be sure logs are stable before walking on them. They can roll unexpectedly, crushing or pinning you. Rising tides can trap you on the beach, blocking off access or escape due to high water. Know the tidal conditions for the area you're in. Check the natural shoreline high tide markers, such as washed up debris, loose sea matter, and tide lines on rock walls. Coasts with high ocean swells are particularly dangerous. They can transform into a large wave, sweeping you into the sea. Avoid being near beaches or channels whenever ocean swells are present. Always wear a personal flotation device, or PFD, where there is even a remote chance of falling into water. Sea and wind conditions vary throughout the coast because of the mountains, channels, and other factors. Be prepared for the unexpected, as well as the forecasted conditions. Wind chill factors, especially wet, rainy conditions, can increase the threat of hypothermia, which is the lowering of one's core body temperature that can cause injury or death. Warm, protective clothing can get wet and cold, further placing you at risk of hypothermia. Immersion in cold coastal water, or cold temperatures of 10 degrees Celsius or less, can cause hypothermia. Watch yourself and your buddy for signs of fatigue and other symptoms of overexposure. If necessary, stop work and take time to recover. Report any symptoms of exposure to your supervisor.
Anytime you need a break from that hose, motion one of them on.
Avoiding heat exposure is just as critical as preventing injuries due to cold. Protective clothing can reduce ventilation and lead to heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Noise exposure from boats, generators, pumps, aircraft, winches, and other commonly used equipment can be reduced with proper hearing protection. Work extra carefully around noise. You may not be able to hear a verbal warning. Encounters with wildlife can result in injury. Though you may think a harmed animal appreciates being rescued, the sentiment is generally not shared. Wildlife's strong survival instinct can lead to serious damage to their captors. Distressed birds react to handling by striking out, pecking at any area within reach, such as the eyes or hands. Otters react in a similar fashion, but with more ferocity and extremely painful results. The larger the animal, the more severe the possible injury. Their capture and treatment must be left to personnel trained and equipped in wildlife rescue.
Now that you have seen this video, are you up to the task? It is not uncommon that for every 3 people that volunteer or canvass to undertake a oiled shoreline cleanup, 2 will either quit or be fired. They quit because the working environment is too harsh and rigorous. They get fired because of unsafe practices. This is an inefficient way to establish and maintain a workforce. To mitigate attrition, people are screened for their willingness and capability to do the job, both physically and mentally, and they're provided a basic safety course such as this, and instilled a safety mindset and attitude. They are then assigned, equipped, and deployed as a paid oil spill workforce. Commuting to shores for assessments or treatments are typically by small community vessels such as a forestry crew cab, a landing craft, or a tourism inflatable. The trip can be uncomfortable, especially if you are prone to seasickness. A couple-hour trip one way wouldn't be uncommon for a widespread oil spill. Unrecovered heavy oil from offshore efforts can linger along shorelines, becoming trapped in crevices, channels, and edges before eventually washing ashore. This is referred to as transitional oil. Although tempting, this oil must not be retrieved from the shore, reaching or wading in with buckets. Recovery may be conducted by trained personnel equipped with appropriate personal protective equipment and safety protocols. Safety isn't a passive endeavor. One needs to predict hazards based on working conditions and oil type, but also deal with the unexpected ones as well. An approach to worker safety is to adopt the REACT system: recognition, evaluation, assessment, correction, and tell. By following this approach, as the steps outlined in the slides show, offers an opportunity to increase your safety and that of your colleagues. There are, however, some hurdles to implementing the REACT approach, best described by scenario. Say a fellow worker frequently leaves his or her rakes lying on the ground as a tripping hazard, as well with its pointy tangs up, which is against instructor safety procedures for hand tools. Recognition, evaluation, and assessment shows that this is a potential for injury for both this worker, you, and others. The hurdle is requesting correction from the worker, and if not done, then telling the team leader of the situation, as this is now a non-compliance matter. This is the correct thing to do. Though awkward from a relationship standpoint, it's important to speak up for the sake of safety. The most common cause of work injury during a marine oil spill response stems from slips, trips, falls, and strains. While getting in and out of boats, walking on rough beaches covered in oil and seaweed, handling oily waste, and hand tools. Most of these are predictable and prevented by personal protective equipment and procedures that are in place and explained. First, though, we will explore the work environment related to coastal hazards, whether oil is present or not, related to weather, waves, swells, and other dangers.
No, he's not here.
No, it's not. Hey, Calvi.
Yeah. Sorry. Keep coming. You can make it. Keep coming.
One can predict, plan, and prepare for worksite hazards, but there's always the unpredicted ones, not related to oil, such as a muddy estuary that looks solid to walk over, but was not, as shown in this video. This is why there are daily safety briefings and why the REACT approach is so important. Spilled oil gets stranded on shore because the waves wash it there. Hence, cleanup is always in proximity of shore hazards such as high waves, powerful surges, and dangerous rolling logs. For the uninformed and the unaware, incoming tides can trap you against a cliff, pick up and float away bags of oily waste, and send an unsecure boat adrift. One needs to assume your fellow workers are not necessarily coast smart when it comes to shoreline zone hazards. You have the safety role here to inform and alert to these dangers. Most West Coasters know that winter weather can be uncomfortable and therefore would be prepared for windy, cold, and wet conditions. However, summer can also become surprisingly uncomfortable, such as when a midday wind and associated cool, misty fog rolls onto shore, quickly making you wet and cold. It is too easy to leave your rain gear behind. Don't be complacent. These two videos offer a sample of what could be expected on British Columbia's west coast. You wouldn't be traveling by boat in this weather, but when safe to depart, there will be residual hazards on arrival to your workplace, such as swells that make a boat access and egress onto shore risky, a collection of unstable and rolling logs that knock you over. Stranded oil often gets buried in the moving sediments after such storms, adding more effort to your cleanup and hence more work-related hazards. Each work site has to be reassessed for hazards before work commences, especially after a storm.
The term surge channel on the coast here refers to any small little inlet where a wave will come rushing into a wider opening that narrows to a very small space at the end of that surge channel. Consequently, the waves can surge up onto the rocks or the foreshore, anywhere along that surge channel and certainly also at the end of that surge channel. So it's a natural narrowing where a lot of water can pour in, not immediately, maybe not 10 minutes, maybe not 20, could be 40 minutes. And that can inundate you in 6 feet of fast-moving ocean water, which can be, of course, dangerous.
This list of shoreline hazards provides an outline of what might be communicated to you during a tailgate safety briefing. Get familiar with the hazard icons, as they might be used to post and alert you to a hazardous situation. Take a look at the video to see how dynamic British Columbia exposed coast can be at any time of year. See how many of these hazards can you find. Wind chill, especially wet, rainy conditions, can increase the threat of hypothermia, which is the lowering of one's core body temperature. Typical initial signs of hypothermia are excessive shivering and confusion. Long hours of hard work aggravate these symptoms. Watch yourself and others for signs of fatigue and other symptoms of cold exposure. Though hypothermia can be fatal, the main problem is a worker using their equipment in an unsafe way, as being tired, confused, and losing motor skills from being too cold. If necessary, react, stop work, and take time to get warm and rested. Report any symptoms of exposure by you or others to your supervisor. Working hard in warm, sunny weather while wearing heat-trapping rain gear or coveralls can result in heat exhaustion or heat stroke. It is very important to understand the difference causes, symptoms, and interventions of heat exhaustion compared to that of heat stroke. The latter can be fatal. Heat exhaustion is from oversweating, leading to pale skin, dizziness, and muscle cramps from the loss of your body's electrolytes, whereas heat stroke is from elevated body temperature from essentially baking yourself in the sun's direct rays and heat. Symptoms are dry, hot, flushed skin, rapid pulse, and deep breathing. For heat stroke, prevention is not to let your back, neck, and head get too hot by direct sun exposure. Wear a hat and shirt. The intervention is to reduce your body temperature, such as applying wet cloths on the back of your neck and moving into shade. For heat exhaustion, prevention is by staying hydrated with water that has the correct electrolyte supplements. Intervention is to rehydrate and cool down. Get to know how to prevent, recover, and treat each type. Report to your supervisor any heat-related symptoms you experienced or any interventions with another worker. This short video is just a reminder that weather can change quickly and severely on the West Coast. Being both aware and prepared can go a long way towards your comfort. The sea-to-land interface of British Columbia coast is rich and diverse in wildlife. Most wildlife are just a pleasure to observe. However, some you do not want to have a close encounter or conflict with. Notable coastal species are bears, cougars, and wolves. They are prey and territorial animals, hence can be hazardous to the degree of being lethal if a full-on interaction. Other species include sea and river otters. These cute creatures become dangerous only if you try to rescue one if oiled or harmed. A recommended site for wildlife safety is WildSafe BC. It is important to inform and to be informed if there's any bear observed in or near your work area. This is whether you're undertaking shoreline assessments or cleaning shores. There are two types of bears that frequent British Columbia's coastal shores, black and grizzly. Black bear is abundant and ubiquitous, whereas grizzly bear tends to be a mainland species, but they do show up on coastal islands. Their territories do overlap. Both enjoy the bounties of intertidal waters as much as people do: seaweed, clams, fish, and more. Black bear can be a misnomer in its naming, as they come in a range of colors from black, white, to reddish. Black is the most common. It is important to avoid any surprise encounter or attracting a problem, like feeding or leaving food out for them. Though rare, black bear will prey on a person, whereas a grizzly is more territorial. Both protect their young. Not a good situation in either case. If you remember anything, don't run, back away slowly, calmly, and respectfully, with your eyes and head down. There's a time to chill and there's a time to fight. It depends if a bear is being defensive, wants you to go away, or predatory, wants to eat you. Check out WildSafe BC's website and their bear safety video. Cougars are rarely seen, generally just their tail as they disappear into the bush. Attacks are even rarer. Cougars are just like any other cat. They get excited about the chase. So don't run, make yourself big, such as spreading your arms and opening your coat. Let them know who's boss with a strong voice and look. Cougar avoidance is best achieved by staying close to your buddy. Wolves are not particularly common, but one can see a lone wolf or pack wandering down a beach or in the intertidal zone. Wolves are timid. The primary reason for a wolf conflict is that you or someone has fed it. It only takes one time and will now be looking for more opportunities and therefore more people interactions. Then the wolf may have to be shot by a conservation officer. Like a cougar encounter, don't run, be assertive, stay with a buddy. Otters come in two types, river and sea. Sea otters stick to the ocean environments, whereas a river otter frequents both. Generally, otters are shy, but some can befriend people. They bite, and hard. Sea otters can break through large, heavy-shelled clams, so are quite capable of breaking a person's arm or hand. Enjoy their frolicking, but don't attempt to capture any oil to harm ones. Major injuries are a certainty. Leave capture of an oiled otter to experienced wildlife rescue experts, and report any oil or harm earlier to your supervisor. The main problem with insects, such as bees, wasps, ants, sand fleas, black flies, is that you or your buddy is allergic to its sting or bite. It is important that you inform your supervisor and buddy about any severe allergies, to what degree, and inform them if you carry an EpiPen. Instruct your supervisor, buddy, and or safety officer where you keep it and how to use it. The onset of an allergic response is not the time to educate. A standard practice, if you find a wasp nest, is to mark it with a barrier tape and inform everybody about it. Hazardous substance is a catch-all name for any product that can cause chemical or biological harm. For example, a dangerous good is a consumer or industrial product that hasn't been used yet, such as paint, solvents, and pesticides, but once it's used, it becomes a hazardous waste. Both are hazardous substances. Hazardous substances mainly appear on coastal shores from broken containers that have fallen off a vessel. Some will have labels on them to show they are hazardous chemicals. Others, the labels are worn off or hidden in the beach sediment. When in doubt, assume the container, a bottle, canister, drum, or bag as hazardous. Look for the label, but don't open it, don't disturb it, don't look inside it, don't smell. Instead, mark it with a barrier ribbon, inform your supervisor. Leave it to the hazmat specialist to assess and manage it. Biohazards are primarily discarded syringes and needles, often near urban areas, but not necessarily. Again, mark and inform. Don't pick it up. And if you get pricked, this is a medical matter that needs to be addressed. People can be a problem. Don't use non-prescription drugs. Don't bring firearms on site. And don't smoke cannabis. These are not conducive to a safe operation and therefore are not allowed on site. Report any worker impairment or unauthorized firearms to your supervisors. Besides unsafe practices, a drug infraction is the second most common reason for being laid off and sent home. lot of other worksite hazards that most people haven't even considered until finding out the hard way. It's the type of miscellaneous hazards listed here that are raised at tailgate safety meetings. How many safety concerns can you identify with this fan boat departing and that you were either on shore or on board?